Hello, welcome to DIY is my happy place. I am a DIY online sleuth. Today I'm going to be talking to you about an attempted murder mystery. Now, it's not a huge mystery because we have quite a few of the pieces to the puzzle, but there are a few that are still missing, at least as far as we know. The case has not gone to court yet, so I'm sure that attorney, police, they have more evidence obviously than we do. So what I'm trying to do is piece together this puzzle based on what we do have, and that is regarding attempted murder of Brandon Boudreaux. Yes, this was 3 years ago, and after I've been combing through a lot of things, I've posted a couple of videos, and I've gotten a lot of you online sleuths to comment and give me ideas and leads and different things that I didn't know were even out there. And so I've been investigating night and day. It's keeping me up all the time. I've tried to piece together the puzzles so that we can figure out what we do have based on the evidence that's already out in the universe, so to speak. The one thing that I figured out, that for my best guess, if I were going to be betting on who it was that helped Alex Cox with the attempted murder of Brandon Boudreaux, I have it narrowed down to 3 people. Let me show you what I have, what evidence I have, and then I would love it if you would do a survey at the end and tell me which one, if you were to pick between these 3, which one do you think is most likely the getaway driver? If you want to get involved in a bit of a puzzle that is trying to be solved, let's get started. I have to say that I feel like I have so much more information than I ever had before. Even though I've been following this case for 3 years now, I had so many comments from a lot of you, and it has really got my brain going. And so I've been working hard on finding all the evidence that I can find. Let's see what we can figure out. Let me give you the premise first of all. Today, my personal top 3 candidates, and this may change as more evidence becomes available, but as of today, my top 3 candidates are Melani Gibb, Melani Pawlowski, and Zulema Pastenes. Hope I'm saying that name right. These 3 all had a lot of contact with Alex Cox, who was the alleged shooter, but somebody was driving that car. Somebody was driving the getaway car. I have a bunch of things, and I'm going to show you based on their own words and the documentation that we have, and maybe even some hearsay. This isn't a court of law, right? We're taking a guess. There is reason to believe that Melani Pawlowski Boudreaux, who is the wife of Brandon, who had the attempted murder on him, there's a lot of evidence on her, a lot, and I'm going to show you what I've got, additional to what I've already showed you prior in different videos. There's not as much on Melani Gibb, but there still is quite a bit. And I want to show you what I have. The main thing that I'm trying to do is take puzzle pieces that are all out there in the World Wide Web, so to speak, or documents that you can get from court, public documents. And if you piece all those things together and you take what somebody says and the evidence and you put it together side by side so you can compare, for me, it's a lot easier. It makes more sense. So anybody can access this information, any of you, but I tried to piece it together to make it a little bit more coherent.
All I could think was, someone's shooting at me. What do I need to do? I need to hit the gas and get out of here.
911, where's your emergency?
Someone just shot my window.
This is a picture of Brandon's car where his window was shattered and the bullet was lodged up in the top of the car. So it was basically inches from his head. And allegedly, Alex Cox was the shooter. There's been evidence of that. And based on what Brandon said, he described it as two people in the vehicle. One was the shooter, one was the getaway driver. So there you go. The morning after Alex attempted to shoot Brandon, the police interviewed, however you want to say it, Melani Boudreaux. She was still married to Brandon at the time. They were separated. And I've got pieces of her interview that I want to talk to you about.
That's been bullying. I try to just minimize the texting at all. Last night he kind of blew my phone up and was kind of acting different, and I just didn't want to talk to him. Didn't know what he kind of got himself into, and so relationship isn't awesome.
I'm not going to show the entire interview because there is so much chaff and redirect that goes on with Melanie. Basically, she's trying to draw attention away from herself, in my opinion. And I get that from chaff and redirect is terminology that I learned from watching the behavior panel. And they basically say that a lot of times people will throw things out there to try to get you to go towards something different than what really is happening. In my opinion, there's a lot of victim blaming and a lot of bashing. And I'm not going to give her the time to air the horrible things she says about her soon-to-be ex-husband, Brandon. But I do want to zero in on some of the things that she says that I think are pretty big tells in how she was possibly involved. Let's listen.
Started to do a lot of bad business deals with people that just had many people come to us say, don't do business with this type of person, it's not a good person. So yeah, I gotten to a point where there's been so many lies I don't believe what he says anymore, so I don't know how to, we're just doing it the best we can, the back and forth, trying to just not see him as much. If it's just text on.
Okay. Telephone, or is it text or something else?
We try to just do text, and so he called me a ton of times. Last night he said, can I call you, it's important, and I just over and over calls and texts, and I kind of felt like something was off, and so I just didn't answer. This morning he said, I've had a bad day, and then I responded this morning, and I said, he said I just want to make sure the kids are okay, so I was like, yeah, the kids are fine, they're in bed when you called, and we're getting ready for school, it's early in the morning, I hope you're having a better day. But yeah, I tried to only text. That's why it was weird when he was like, I can call you, left me a message. He said, I don't want to talk about it over the phone.
Did you guys talk at all last night?
No, I just texted him this morning.
Okay.
So.
And what did you text him this morning?
When or what?
Both.
So I just said, yes, the babies are fine. They were tucked in bed, getting ready for school now. Hope you're having a better day. And that was at 6:52 a.m.
Okay. Your day from the moment you woke up to the moment you went to bed last night.
Went to, I don't know. What did we do? Wednesday? Did we go to Aunt Jen's house?
I find it interesting that she asks her toddler, what did we do yesterday? Did we go to Jen's house? And then she switches from saying what she did to saying what she usually does. And based on what I've learned from my behavior panel lessons, this would be the perfect time to stop and say, hang on there. No, wait a minute. If I'm the interrogator, don't tell me what you usually do. Tell me what you did yesterday.
Went to, I don't know. What did we do? Wednesday? Did we go to Aunt Jen's house?
I wish the interrogator would have said, hey, did you happen to go for a ride with Uncle Alex in a Jeep?
park, we run, sometimes we go to the gym.
Which kids did you have yesterday?
Mommy, it's not working.
So I only pick up.
Papa told me I'm working.
So,
I have her during the day, and then after school on Wednesdays, I pick up my others from school.
around what time?
So at 2:40 we got there, and then it takes like 3:20 to finally pick them up at ALA, and then then we went to Santana Mall and we looked at the puppies, then we played there. We didn't go grocery shopping, but then we ordered it online through Amazon, and then we my boring life.
No.
And then then we were home, we made dinner, and then went to bed. I picked my my 4-year-old at Legacy, so it's across the street from us, and he goes to all-day fall break camp right now, so I picked him up at 6, and then came back, we went to bed, and then Brandon started calling me at 8:30-ish, and we were kind of already in bed at that time, so I was kind of in and out of it, and just kind of felt a little unsettled throughout the night, like, is he going to show up at my house, what's going on?
So you went to the mall yesterday. Who was with you at the mall?
Great. I'm going to save you a whole bunch of time. You won't have to listen to the whole thing like I did. The bottom line is this. She does a lot of Brandon hate. Now, I get it. People that are going through divorce, they have a lot of bad things to say about their exes, their soon-to-be exes. But this is crazy. And during the custody battle, a lot of the documents are now public record, and a lot of what she's saying is, not completely out there yet, but everything that is showing that she's just lie. She does a lot of lying. But I find it ironic that while she's doing her chaff and redirect, she ends up bringing, and she's trying to stay away from her, she ends up bringing up as if this is a bad thing towards Brandon's character, so to speak. She brings up the fact that her Aunt Lori's husband was shot and killed by Alex Cox, her beloved uncle, because of a domestic dispute, blah, blah, blah. But she basically is bashing Brandon through all that because Brandon at the time, oh, this is just so complex. At the time, Charles was suspicious that they were going to try to kill him. So he was contacting Brandon to say, I think they're trying to kill me. And so then Melanie tries to use that against Brandon as he too they're trying to kill. So to me, all it does is bring more suspicion on her, but she thinks she's putting it out there, like this is going to show that Brandon's a bad guy, whatever. The other thing is, as you go along with her timeline, and she takes forever. She does, gaslighting, like just talk about a whole bunch of stuff that doesn't matter. But then when it comes to the parts that do matter, she's forgetful. She can't remember what she did, although she goes along and tells minute by minute by minute everything she did. Went to Jamba Juice, went to the mall, went to all this stuff. But she can't remember exactly what happened in this certain time frame, which happens to be the time frame when allegedly Uncle Alex was shooting at Brandon. She says she was home alone, no alibi, and washing the dishes, whatever. I'm not saying every mom has every alibi, whatever, but I think the biggest mistake that she makes during this whole interview is when they finally get around to telling her that her husband was shot at. She has no reaction. She says something to the effect of, oh, that makes me sick to my stomach. But she's not sick to her stomach. She's not reacting. She's not devastated. Oh, my word, I should have taken his call last night. This is so horrible. Who's trying to kill my husband? Am I in danger? Are my kids in danger? None of that. None of it. She goes back into her routine of victim blaming Brandon. Like he deserves to be shot at because blah, blah, blah. I don't know. After she goes on and on explaining about what she usually does on a Wednesday, which has nothing to do with what she did that day, the investigator doesn't let her off the hook, and he keeps coming back to it. No, tell me what you did yesterday at this time. And here's what she said.
I don't think we went anywhere because we were going to go to the gym, but she was throwing a fit in the back of the car, so I was like, let's just go home. So I just kind of cleaned up the kitchen and we kind of stayed home.
After that interview, the detectives didn't really have anything to really suspect her, even though there was a lot of nonsense going on in the interview. But who would think so? I mean, you look at her, she looks like a nice lady, and she looks like she's in a hard divorce and whatever. It's very similar to the way that everyone thought about Lori when she was talking to the investigators after Charles's murder. I mean, it didn't seem right. Things didn't necessarily add up, but oh, let's get her a victim's advocate. I mean, they suck you in. I'm telling you, they suck you in. So anyway, after this, as you can imagine, Brandon is very suspicious that it's them. He has very good reason to believe that it's his ex-wife, well, soon to be ex-wife, and Uncle Alex, because he's already been in contact with Charles, who was killed, and then his life was attempted. So what does he do? He runs for it, like any sane person would. He grabbed his kids and he ran, and he went in hiding. And boy, did that make Melanie mad, and here's why. Like, nobody wants to lose their kids, so you would think that that's the reason that a person's mad. But there might be a little bit more to it for Miss Melanie, Melanice, as we say. For those of you who don't know why we say Melanice, it's just to distinguish between the two Melanies, since Melanice is the niece of Lori. So that's where that comes from. Okay, so Chad and Lori deem two of Melanice's kids, Melani Pawlowski's kids, as dark, and then as zombies. And you know what happens to dark zombies? Nothing good. She is known to have, there's text messages that have been brought out that show that she's like, oh, sometimes kids turn dark. Oh, it's not like she's trying to defend her kids from them having the same fate that we soon find out Lori's kids have, which isn't good. But anyway, she's buying in, hook, line, and sinker. She's trying to say on all her interviews she's not involved in any cult. Well, that's just not true, because all the text messages, calls, all of the proof is in the pudding. She was 100% in like Flynn. So it comes to the point where she needs to get those zombies. They need to be taken out of this world, which are two of her kids. So she goes to Utah to try to find them. She has a feeling they're staying with her in-laws, and sure enough, she finds out her kids are at her in-laws' house. So what does she do? She goes and tries to break in to take them. And she's got her Uncle Alex, the hitman, with her. And of course, they're scared to death. Brandon's parents, and the kids. So they have the doors locked. She's pounding on the door. She gets called, they call the police. She gets told to leave the premises. She's got some documents for mediation, which she says shows that the judge says that she's supposed to have her kids. All of this is lies. There's been no court. It's a mediator. It's not a judge. Not to mention, regardless what the judge says, Brandon's in fight for your life, and he's just like, I'll deal with the courts later. I'm sure I would. Who wouldn't? So she's pounding on the door. Police come. They tell her she has to leave. Now, the second day, she tries to go in. The garage door was open, so she goes through the garage, and she's trying to break in, and she's pounding on the doors, scaring everyone, because they know people die around her. And so, again, 911 is called, and here's what happens to her after that.
So you guys went to court,
Yes,
sat
sir.
there with the judge.
My in-laws are nice people, but they've been lied to, saying that there's a protection order in place, and there isn't. My kids are, I'm worried they're in danger.
Fortunately, we made a mistake and didn't catch on until afterwards.
Okay.
Your criminal trespass is enhanced to domestic violence.
How does that work?
Because you were in a domestic relationship, you had, in-laws there. You trespassed, you entered the garage unlawfully. So we're actually going to be taking you into custody tonight.
Okay.
So I'm just going to need you to go ahead and stand up, face away from me, place your hands behind your back.
Can you just leave?
You can just set that right there. We'll take everything with you.
Is your uncle still out there?
Yes, he is.
Yeah. All right.
So do you have anything on you that would be considered illegal in a correctional facility? Drugs, knives?
Any weapons, guns, knives, alcohol, drugs, anything like that?
I don't drink.
All right. I can go give these to your uncle. You probably want this to have some contact information and stuff. They can hold this at the jail. Put your seatbelt on.
Okay, go climb in there.
Never been in a cop car before.
Well, apologize that it's got to be like this, but we'll make it as painless as possible.
I can't help but wonder what would have happened if the police did not arrest Melanie that night. Her and Alex were there. They were taking those kids. At that point, they knew 2 of them had been deemed dark, but they are now zombies, which always means you know what. So basically, if she wouldn't have been arrested, it is scary to think, really scary to think of what would have happened. Good job, American Fork Police. Because as you will see, Uncle Alex was just around the corner, ready to do the bidding.
Mr. Cox? Yeah. I'm going to leave this with you. Melanie's going to be going to the Utah County Jail tonight.
Okay.
So she wanted to leave that with you.
All right.
I'm sure she'll reach out to you as soon as she's able to, okay?
So where would I bail her out, or?
Yeah, you're going to be able to bail her out. It doesn't take very long to process her.
Okay.
But she's going to be at the Utah County Jail.
She has phone calls there, so I can ask her for a emergency contact, and we can give her your information.
I don't know if I don't think she has my number memorized.
Not in her phone. Does she have it in her phone?
Yeah, it's in her phone.
Oh yeah, we're taking her phone with her, so
Okay.
that way she can have all the numbers and stuff like that. But unfortunately, our hands are tied with the law and stuff like that, and this is just what's got to happen. So, okay?
Yeah.
All right,
Any
sir.
other questions, concerns for us?
How much is bail going to be on that?
I don't know.
Any idea?
Not
No.
yet,
When she gives you a call, she'll know the bail amount, so she can tell
that's
you.
all.
But okay.
All
All right.
right.
Thanks,
guys.
Okay, now let's fast forward to when Melanie is trying to get custody of her kids in court. A lot has happened between these 2 times. Basically, we know that Melanie ended up moving to Rexburg without the kids, and so did Alex and so did Lori. In the meantime, Lori's 2 kids are reported missing, and when the welfare check is done, the day after that, Lori and Chad vamonos to Hawaii. Alex is not talking. Melanie is not talking. Both of them get remarried because they were told that they needed to be married. So they both got married within a couple of weeks of meeting. And then Melanie goes with her new husband, Ian, to try to get custody of her kids. I threw it out there on the previous video, wondering if anybody in the World Wide Web knew whether or not she actually did get custody. And most people say no, I don't think she did. But I wonder, and the reason why I wonder is based on I uncovered a public record that might dispute that, and I need your opinion. I'll show it towards the end. Let's talk about Melanie 2, Melanie Gibb, and what her involvement could have been and why I am suspicious about her as well. And while we're at it, we'll tie in our 3rd contender, which of course is Zulema. So let's take a peek, or in this case, let's take a listen. Okay, this was a recorded call of Melanie Gibb that was made public. She didn't know she was being recorded. I hate that for her, but nonetheless, it seems like we found out some really interesting pieces when it comes to Melanie Gibb. And it has to do with the question of where is Tylee?
I said, hey, Tylee's, I mentioned again, like, Tylee went to BYU, and she goes, yeah, but she gave me this really creepy look.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was creepy. It was like, yes, she's dead, really, and, that kind of look.
Yeah.
Like, I think that kind of look, but then I didn't know what to think about it at the time. I was like, why do I feel creepy when she looks at me like that,
Yeah.
And so, anyway, then she tells me, I get there in September 23rd weekend, and JJ's missing. No, JJ's not missing, sorry. JJ's there, and she tells me he's a zombie now.
Oh, my goodness.
And so was Tylee.
Oh, no.
And so, so people that are zombies, they don't end up staying alive. You should probably see the pattern here.
Yes, Melanie Gibb, we are seeing a pattern here. The other pattern that we're seeing is that you recognized it as not being okay. I still wonder why you didn't come forward, but okay, let's talk about your account when it comes to Tammydaybell.
What happened? What happened to Tammy? And she goes, well, she was a zombie 2 weeks before she died. And I was like, really? She goes, yeah, she was starting to question our relationship. She was wondering if he was having an affair. I said, oh. And so, and I said, well, how did she die? She goes, well, we just had to do what we could to take her out of her spirit. Something like that. Uh-huh. And I was like, okay. I'm thinking she said a prayer and her spirit went home. That's what I'm thinking, right? And so, like, maybe she did some kind of, like, blessing or something, you know, like, people can do that, I guess. I don't know. And so anyway, then this is where it all changes for me. This was hard. You're going to just try not to react.
Okay. Okay, no, it's okay.
Put your seatbelt on.
Okay.
And so then I get a call from Chad 2 days before Thanksgiving. Hey, Melanie, Rexburg Police is going to call you. Don't answer.
Okay, so I'm going to cut it off right here. Just basically suffice it to say, she starts saying things change for her when the lights start shining on her. In other words, she didn't care that people were turning into zombies and dying. She only started to care when she might be accountable. That's the way it looks to me anyway. That's my perspective. Melanie does go on to give some pretty incriminating evidence about Zulema. And so I'm going to go ahead and just share a little piece of that. And that just is what made my brain start thinking, you know what? Zulema could possibly have been the getaway driver because she was locked into this just as much as Melanie and Melanice. She was one of the ones that helped do the castings. She was tied in so much. There's so many texts and everything going back and forth with her. And she was also told by Chad and Lori, or commanded, I guess, to marry Lori's brother, Melanice's uncle, Alex Cox.
And anyway, so I go down to Arizona, and her brother's down there, just down the street from me, because he's marrying my friend. Her name's Zulema. And so I say, hey, are you around? And so anyway, I said, hey, let's meet. We need to talk. So I said, hey, Alex, I said, do I want to know what happened to JJ? And he says, no, you don't want to know. I was feeling the stomach, you know, that deep pit stomach feeling you get when things are wrong.
Yep.
I was feeling it, gut instinct was going, something's wrong. So I call Zulema, and I'm like, hey, Zulema, like, what did Alex say? I'm getting a bad feeling. I'm not sure what to think about this. And she goes, well, I don't. She just told me what her testimony was of Chad and how he gave her a blessing, made her also part of the 144,000, and said she was translated too, and then said she basically started having visions after this. Okay.
Yeah.
Just as an aside, when she was on court testifying during the Lori trial, she was asked if she had visions and what they were, and she ironically couldn't remember a single one.
So she had a testimony of Chad that he was a real visionary. So I said, well, what did Alex tell you? What happened? And she said, well, all he said to me was, you don't want to know. No. He said, they won't be able to be found. He won't be able to be found.
Yes,
it's so sad. It's so sad. You can know how sickened I've been by this. So sickened.
My goodness.
The first 2 months, I was like, I couldn't eat for the first 3 days.
I
First
bet.
3 days, I just couldn't even eat. I was so disturbed greatly. And
Now, if you saw a previous video that I posted regarding Melanice, if you remember, she said she did not go to Rexburg to follow Lori or to follow a cult, but she was there because she needed a break and she needed to get away. But not according to what Melanie Gibb has to say.
And I've been in touch with Melanie, her niece, that got involved, and I've been trying to call her and help her, and she's just really jacked up. Like, she lost her kids, she got divorced.
No.
and she's up in Rexburg alone. Everybody else abandoned her. I mean, it's so sad. Yeah, it's so sad.
Okay, obviously she originally did not have custody of those kids. We started pounding on the door, all that other stuff. But eventually she must have been able to get at least partial custody because, as you'll see, she's talking about her kiddos.
Is there any way I can get them to school soon about 8?
What time do they have to go to school?
They need to be there at 8, so I was going to take her and get them in the car and go.
Okay, well, this takes like 20 seconds apiece. So if he just comes outside, we'll be done.
Here's what information you have on that pending case.
Okay.
I don't know right now. We might have like a lawyer to talk to who can help us know what to do. I'm kind of trying to get my kiddos to school, so I'm kind of not able to make a decision right now.
There we go. See? Now, don't forget to take the survey and we'll see what everyone comes up with. What is your gut telling you? If it was one of these three, which one would you guess? Do you think it's Melani Gibb, Melani Pawlowski, or Zulema? I know we have a lot less information, and so I hope I didn't lead it into one person or the other based on just the limited information that we have. But what is your gut telling you? What do you think is the most likely candidate to be the driver? So, go ahead and vote. And don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll have more coming up. See ya.